Hey everybody, welcome to the 15th episode of the Smart Marks of Wrestling podcast presented by thesportshow.com. Full disclosure, we recorded this yesterday, and on Thursday morning this morning, as I'm about to air it, massive news drops from WWE. Paul Heyman, Eric Bischoff have been hired by WWE as executive producers of Raw and SmackDown Live respectively. This could change everything. Yes, these two will report under Vince McMahon for the duration of their tenure as executive producers, but they are two very prominent people with lots of experience. This could change everything for Raw and SmackDown. We're going to have that story as we start things off, and then we'll get into the rest of this recording, covering everything else in WWE and AEW on the 15th episode of the Smart Marks of Wrestling podcast, presented by thesportshow.com. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman are back in WWE. And this is getting huge mixed reactions from fans. Some who love the idea because WWE has been the target of many fans and media scribes all over the place. The product hasn't been as good, although the last couple of weeks it's been much better. But it's interesting to know whether or not those two have had any hand in that, because ironically, after a couple weeks of good programming and a pretty decent pay-per-view and stomping grounds, we find out now that Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman are executive producing a couple of the flagship shows. So it's hard to know. Some fans aren't really loving the idea. The idea that Bischoff is back with WWE is laughable to some. You know, he's the same guy who destroyed WCW. He hasn't been in the wrestling game. But let me tell you this. Eric Bischoff may not have been with a large promotion for a while, but he has been in the wrestling scene. He has been dealing with his 83 Weeks podcast, Twitch shows, talking to Conrad Thompson, still very much a part of the wrestling community. He has not removed himself from the industry. This is a guy who will surprise some people. He's learned a ton from his experience in WCW, and no, he did not do everything correctly 100% of the time, but he is much wiser than when he was in WCW. He has learned a lot, and I'm guessing WWE is going to benefit from his experience and having made those mistakes and not wanting to make them again. And of course, Paul Heyman is who Paul Heyman is, a creative genius, the man behind ECW, still delivering top-notch, high-quality promos on Raw with Brock Lesnar as his advocate. If he's running Raw and he has creative freedom, this is going to be massive. This is going to be huge. I don't even know, man. They are both recording or reporting under Vince McMahon, so that's an issue, I suppose, if you're of the belief that no matter what they say and do, Vince McMahon can shoot everything down. But here's my question. Unless you're hiring a couple yes men, I don't know Paul Heyman to be a yes man. Maybe he wants the money. I don't know. But are you really going to assume that Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman are taking this job under the assumption that both of them are just going to have every idea shot down? These are not two just generic writers coming in, composing and producing content, and Vince McMahon just changing his mind. I can't imagine these two guys are going to stick around. Now, who knows what these deals look like? WWE has a ton of money, and they are handing it out like crazy, giving it to WWE superstars not to leave. Who knows what they're offering Bischoff and Heyman? It could be really good money, and at that point, maybe you'll just say yes to anything. But I'm hoping that both of these guys have the principles and the desire to change the product in a positive way, that their voices will be heard and listened to by Vince McMahon, who maybe, for the first time, is looking at himself in the mirror and going, maybe I need help here. Maybe I need guys who I know have hurt me in the past, but have hurt me to benefit their own product into ECW and WCW. And these are two guys that will help WWE if I give them some creative freedom to do what they do well. And maybe that's what's going on here. So this is massive news. We will keep you up to speed on what's going on. But basically, Sports Illustrated broke the story this morning, said that WWE was going to confirm it, which they did. And WWE.com wrote this in their executive roles. Heyman and Bischoff will oversee the creative development of WWE's flagship programming and ensure integration across all platforms and lines of business. The creation of these roles further establishes WWE's ability to continuously reinvent its global brand while providing two distinct creative processes for its flagship show. So basically, Heyman and Bischoff are running Raw and SmackDown now. If that's what they're saying, and that is to be believed, that's what's going on here. These two guys have been hired to run the shows, and Vince is probably going to take their input very seriously. Where does that leave a guy like Triple H? I don't know. Will Triple H be working with these two guys directly? Will they, oversee what's going on? Is Triple H not going to have a hand in Raw and SmackDown anymore? What about Stephanie McMahon? There's been some, friction in the past with all of these guys working with Stephanie McMahon. Is she now out and she's not really part of the creative process of the shows anymore? I don't know if she really was. She's more like a brand officer than anything else, but hard to know, right? So this is a massive news. We'll keep you posted on what's going on. We have a whole show that we recorded prior to finding this out. So while this isn't a storyline and this is not something that we would have included in yesterday's recording, we had to not ignore this. This was something that came out this morning on Thursday that was important. We had to add it to the podcast. So keep your eyes on thesportster.com. There is a story on there as well. Wrestler write-ups, wrestlingwriteups.com. We've got it all. We're covering everything. Make sure that you listen to it. We're going to take you over now to what we recorded yesterday, which was a ton of conversation about a ton of different topics, including Stomping Grounds, Fighter Fest, which is this Saturday, Raw and SmackDown, Firefly Funhouse, all sorts of stuff. Here is the regular interview I did with Brandon yesterday and the rest of the episode 15 Smart Marks of Wrestling podcast presented by thesportster.com. I hope you enjoy. Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Smart Marks of Wrestling podcast presented by thesportster.com. We've got Brandon on the other line, newly hired and waiting for training. Brandon on the other line. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Had a job interview, was in there at 10 a.m., out of there at 10:07 a.m. With the job, so that'll be fun. But The show will go on, for better or for worse. So that's good.
Yeah, no, you mentioned that last time, which is good, but now you got like 2 weeks to really enjoy your freedom before you have to get to work on a normal job, because we write and we podcast host and we do all sorts of crazy things, but we don't, as far as I go, I don't really work like a regular 9 to 5, but it sounds like you're about to start that. So we'll have to figure out a way to keep our schedules working with each other so this show can continue while you go out and make the real money of the world with the 9 to 5 stuff. But hopefully you get a chance to continue to watch wrestling as often as you do with this new job. Did you watch Raw and SmackDown on Monday and Tuesday?
Yeah, got to watch Stomping Grounds after the fact, like I said I would, and Raw and SmackDown I caught up with. Surprisingly, much better product this week than I've seen in a long time with WWE.
Yeah, I've been super impressed, actually. Like, Stomping Grounds was a very good pay-per-view. I mean, we talked about it, how no one gave two craps. Like, it just felt like they threw the pay-per-view together. But I'll tell you, I was watching that thing, and I'm thinking to myself, somebody else is producing these matches. Like, the matches were all very good. They were sound from start to finish in terms of how they progressed through the pay-per-view. It felt like somebody else was behind the curtain, pulling the strings like a puppet master, and it wasn't Vince McMahon. Like, it just was a better show. And then Raw, I thought, was okay leading up to it, and then quite good after that. And things just got better. SmackDown was good, and Raw was good, and people are complaining still, but it's like, why are you complaining? It's getting better now, right? Like, it's been a really good couple weeks for WWE, and it feels like they're finally turning a corner, and maybe they've made some changes backstage that are being reflected on TV. Maybe something like that just takes a little time.
Yeah, here's something that's always been weird to me. So, like, people are complaining and saying, oh, well, it was such a low buy rate for Stomping Grounds, it couldn't have been good. This has always been confusing to me, too. If you look at a movie and say, well, this movie had, the biggest opening weekend of all time, it must be good. It could just be that the marketing was really good for it, right? You don't know if the movie's good or not before you go see it. So for wrestling, you don't know if it's good or not if you're not watching it. If 20 people watch it and 100 people don't, or 100 people watch it and 20 people don't, it doesn't make it any better or worse. It just means that those people did or didn't watch it, and it probably has more to do with the lead up and the build up that we've seen than the actual content itself. The build up to Stomping Grounds, we talked about it last week, sucked. I wasn't really, I was going to watch it no matter what, but I wasn't like super excited. We kind of mentioned how it came out of nowhere. It was right after the Super Showdown, and it was pretty much just like a rehashing of the same kind of matches, right? But then when you watch the card, there were a lot of really good matches. And I'm talking about even before you get to like the two main title matches.
Yeah, no, it was good. And you know what? Extreme Rules kind of feels the same way. what is going to be a few rematches now. Kofi and Samoa Joe is different and stuff like that. But there's a lot more going on here. You've got Lacey Evans and Baron Corbin in the ring again with Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. You've added the Undertaker to the mix. We'll talk about that from Raw, but it feels like there's a lot of the same stuff here. But now I actually am going into Extreme Rules thinking, hey, this could be okay. I went into Stomping Grounds going, oh, this is going to be terrible.
Yep.
This is so thrown together, so poorly constructed, but it was good. Now I'm going, okay, well, they've had a couple decent Raws, a couple decent SmackDowns, half a decent pay-per-view. Maybe Extreme Rules will be good. And so that's all it takes is just a little bit of faith that things can turn around. It's not perfect, but it's going to be better, and they've added a few wrinkles, and they're putting some feuds together. Like I'm totally psyched for the Samoa Joe Kofi Kingston stuff. I think that's going to be a huge feud, a great feud.
Yeah. So speaking of Samoa Joe, well, actually, I'm gonna go somewhere else first with this. This is the second pay-per-view now, and I guess it's also happening on this one as well, where we're gonna see a Raw superstar contend for a SmackDown title. That's kind of funny to me because obviously Alexa Bliss is on Raw, and she fought for and will fight again for the SmackDown Women's title. And Samoa Joe, who's officially on Raw, is going to be fighting for the SmackDown title, which again completely just gets rid of the brand split and even the wildcard rule. I don't think it's really a thing anymore. I think it's just
it'll only be a matter of time before the WWE.com website completely has these guys all on one program and not even split anymore. Like I think that'll be the final whatever. It'd be like, yeah, we've abandoned this whole brand split thing altogether. But yeah, it doesn't shock me.
Yeah, but with Samoa Joe, his match against Ricochet was really good, and you'd expect that kind of match. And obviously, we know Samoa Joe is one of the best in the world, and he's always been one of the best wrestlers on the planet. But you'd expect that match to be kind of a Ricochet highlight reel, right? You expect Ricochet to steal the show, do a bunch of his high spots, Joe to look strong. But Joe pulled out some really good, like, classic Joe moves, and it was a really fun match. And I thought that Joe really, he didn't let Ricochet outshine him at all, and that was great. These two worked really well together.
Yeah, no, that was a good match. And then Ricochet went on to fight AJ Styles on Raw, which was also a great match. And
it could have been better, too, because AJ is still rusty, right? He's just coming back. So imagine what they can do on a major... I'm sure this is leading up to a bigger feud between the two. I'm really excited to see where that goes.
Well, and I saw people on social media complaining that Ricochet lost. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? It's AJ Styles he lost to. It's not like he lost to Kurt Hawkins. You know what I mean? They had a fantastic match. It wasn't a title match. He came out and he fought one of the biggest stars in the company, in fact, in all of wrestling, and he lost. So, not a big deal, right? Those are the matches you can lose, and it doesn't really matter. As long as you have a really good match, and the fact that you're in the main event on Raw in a singles competition against one of the best performers in the world, and you're holding a U.S. You can't really complain that you're in Ricochet's shoes right now. Yeah, whatever, you lost, but you lost in a good way against a good opponent. So I don't understand why people complain about that one. But that was a really good match. What did you think of the return of The Undertaker? I was not at all expecting that. I didn't see it coming. I hadn't heard anything prior to. I'm a little weirded out by the fact that he's teaming with Roman Reigns, of all people. But clearly to me, WWE must have saw and watched back that match with Goldberg and said, geez, we can't leave it like that. And Undertaker was probably the same way. He's like, this is not the legacy I'm leaving behind. Put me on TV as soon as you can.
Yeah, I don't really understand why this spot, if anything. But like you said, it was surprising. There's no way you could expect to see Undertaker, right? It would be the same thing as if Hulk Hogan came out or if Stone Cold was a kid. There's just no reason they should be there in that spot. So it was. I'm sure Stone Cold would have got a bigger reaction just because we haven't seen him in forever. But you know what I mean? It's someone. There's no reason they should be there, but it's entertaining.
It was totally awesome.
Yeah, people that are going to complain about that, I understand why you would find, there's room for other people that can benefit from it, but who cares? Just have fun with wrestling sometimes. Undertaker showing up on Raw randomly to help out Roman Reigns, that's great. That's awesome. If this was 10 years ago, no one would complain, right? And Undertaker kind of transcends that old man thing for me. He's allowed to show up whenever he wants and do whatever he wants. I don't want to see a 20-minute match out of him, but if they want to use him in any angle against anyone ever, go for it. I'm totally fine with that.
He didn't look very good. He looks slow and he looked, old, and he is what he is. But I just love the idea that as Shane McMahon is about to go from coast to coast off the top ropes, the last thing you're expecting is the gong from the Undertaker and the lights to go out, and then him show up in the ring. That was awesome. I don't know about this whole teaming with the Roman Reigns thing, but you knew right away they were putting him in Extreme Rules, the tag team match. And it was a good timing because people are a little sick of Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre teaming up against Roman Reigns. You think it's over at Stomping Grounds. Nope, it's not. Handicap match on Raw. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's like a collective groan. And then you throw the Undertaker in there. Well, now you've got a completely new wrinkle that no one's not coming. It was way more entertaining than it had a right to be. So I was okay with it. Like, I'm totally decent with that. What did you think of the Firefly Funhouse? Your friends of Bray Wyatt starting to show up on the show. We've been talking about it. We know that he's coming. This has got to be the first signs that he's right around the corner, don't you think?
Yeah, we're getting closer, man. We're starting to see. It was Abby and the Buzzard
Mercy.
on
Mercy on
Raw.
Monday.
And then you had the Pig and the Rabbit on SmackDown. So that's
they were a little harder to spot on SmackDown, but when you saw the Miz walking down the hallway and then you saw Abby peek around the corner, you're like, oh, something's coming. I thought Wyatt might actually show up on Raw that night. But
I prefer this.
I was just gonna say I like the fact they're holding off. Let people tease the idea, talk about it. Even if it's not next week, the week after, you bring them back. You've worked from your TV vignettes, and now you're working slowly to these guys showing up. Oh, hey, man, they're in the arena now. Where's Wyatt? He's coming, right? And you're building and you're building and you're building. I think it's smart. Slow play this is not a bad idea.
We haven't seen this in a while where they've actually slow built something, and it's constantly kept you wanting more. I guess they kind of did it with Becky Lynch leading up to WrestleMania, which was great, and honestly, it led to her being the most popular superstar on the planet.
Yeah, they didn't do that on purpose, though. They did that because she was hurt.
Yeah, with Bray Wyatt though, just the whole build up of her getting there and finally winning it, it was cool to see it done. But with Bray Wyatt, we're seeing the start of the Firefly Funhouse, him slowly introducing new characters and slowly descending into madness, and then very clearly being evil. And then you're starting to see these people on these little puppets on TV, and they're not just sitting there; they're actually moving, which is great because it means they actually are alive. I don't know if that means anything, but it's just nice to see them actually being there. They're building this perfectly to the point where you actually want to see more. And like I said, I think it was last week on the show, or maybe 2 weeks ago. But the chase is always more important or more exciting than actually getting to what you want. So having this build up for weeks and weeks. This has been a few months in the making now, where we've seen Bray Wyatt, and obviously we want to see him on WWE TV, as in an in-ring capacity. But this is so entertaining, and if they can milk this for as long as they can and keep fans wanting it, as long as they give it to them before they stop wanting it, which is obviously a fine line, then I think we're good to go.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. One of the other things that came out of Raw, not necessarily SmackDown, but Raw for sure, was the official nature or the teaming up of the two biggest stars in the company, Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, both champions. We know that they're a couple. We know the relationship has existed. They've been slowly hinting at it, glances in the hallways, what have you.
Specifically calling it her boyfriend when she's in her match against, after she beat Lacey Evans. They're
it was.
Well, you wonder if that's going to happen with her boyfriend, Seth Rollins, later.
Super overdone by.
It was really cringy.
Oh my God. How many times did he say, Lynch's boyfriend, Raw? Must have been 15, 20 times he brought it up between the pay-per-view and Raw and stuff like that. But they now are officially together, teaming together, working as a couple and tag team partners, if you will. They're going to be fighting Lacey Evans and Baron Corbin. What's your take on this? I'm starting to feel like, it's not, but I almost am getting that feeling this is a whole work. This relationship isn't even real. This is just a WWE thing. I know it isn't. I know the two are actually together, but they're pushing it so hard it almost feels forced to the point where it's you question, is this actually a relationship, or is this just being made into a relationship for the sake of WWE television? It's a little overdone. What's your take on it?
So I think that first and foremost, Becky Lynch again is starting to get hot. I think that's great. She's starting to look like she's always been great, but the fans are getting behind her again, and I think pairing the two top people together is great. I think they're doing it in a way that really is like I said, overdoing it, even to the point where they tweeted out, was it yesterday they tweeted out, can you feel the love tonight? And it was a picture of Rollins and Lynch, and then Lynch just tweeted at them, please stop, lads. She's kind of getting sick and tired of it. But she's great on Twitter too, because this is a little side note, but obviously she had her feud with like Edge and Beth Phoenix and everything, and we're gonna get into it later. But Seth Rollins is doing his stuff on social media, and Becky Lynch tweeted out, "People feuding on Twitter. What's the world coming to?" As if her and her boyfriend aren't like the biggest people. Like it's just such a tongue-in-cheek, like sarcastic comment, and I love it.
Yeah, well, he needs to take a few lessons from Lynch. I put a video that'll be up on the Sportster Facebook page later today. My I Tell Me I'm Wrong segment, which I do a lot on these videos, was my take on this is Seth Rollins either needs to shut up or he needs to take lessons from Lynch on how to use Twitter properly when he's getting into these battles with people. Because, I mean, let's give a little history as to what's going on here. So basically, Seth Rollins is standing up for WWE. We all know the story of Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose leaving WWE, going on this media tour and bashing the company and saying how terrible things were on his way out and how creative was awful and how he hated the traveling and blah, 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 blah. I mean, he just went to town on WWE. There were times where I was like, huh. And then there are times I'm like, yeah, this isn't really necessary. Like, you don't need to do this. You're gone now. You're at AEW. Move on. Do your thing. It's a constant beating up of WWE, and not everybody agrees with everything that you think about creative. Anyway, whatever your opinion on Ambrose was, it has sort of fueled this idea that fans are, against or rallying against WWE. Like, hey, all the best wrestlers are going other places. Really, you guys don't have. And Rollins got sick of it. He's basically like, look, this is where I work. This is where I dedicate my life. Every day that I wake up, I want to come here and be the best of we. And we have some of the best wrestlers on the planet, if not most of the best wrestlers on the planet, working for WWE. And he basically came out on social media and challenged anybody to come forward and say there's anyone better than him who does it as often as he does in wrestling. And Will Ospreay, the guy who's like an indie darling in New Japan and in Ring of Honor, has not really worked in WWE, but I'm sure WWE would love to have him, came forward and said, well, I'm still alive, as if to say, I'm the best. Yeah. Rollins then said, hey, yeah, whatever, little buddy. We've got one of you already. His name is Ricochet, and he's better than you. Well, then the whole thing exploded. It was kind of like indie people coming against WWE and other people coming against Seth Rollins, saying, oh, this guy's better than you, and this guy's better than you. And then Baron Corbin and Roman Reigns stepped in, and all these guys started talking, and it became this thing, which is okay. I mean, you're standing up for your own company. You're promoting your own brand. Chris Jericho came in and said, well, hey, dude, why'd you call him little guy? Well, Ospreay's actually bigger than you. Like, just random comments coming in and out, right? Then Rollins went and took a left turn, which I think he shouldn't have done. He's going to regret having done this. He said, well, if we're going to compare anything, let's compare bank accounts.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was yikes, not a good idea, right? So now it became this whole other thing. And in the process, a guy like Wade Keller, who runs PW Torch, who many people know from a podcast and a website and things like that, said, hey, this isn't really a good look. The goodwill you're supposed to have for WWE doesn't look good when you're calling guys little buddy and, whatever. And then Seth Rollins took aim at him and said, whatever, if some kid's going to step up to me that thinks he knows everything, I'm going to pat him on the head like I will you, Wade, or however that was phrased, right? Like, he really came out. It's not looking good for him. Like, he's not wrong. He should be standing up for WWE, and it is his brand to kind of run with and help, defend. But there are better ways to do this. So my take was that he needs to either take lessons from Lynch on how to do this on social media properly, or he needs to be quiet until he's figured out the right things to say, because right now he's digging himself a hole.
Yeah, I thought the Ambrose comments, I understand why you would say it, and I like that he clarified that, like, hey, I still love the guy, but I don't agree with what he's saying. That's fine. I don't understand the Ospreay stuff. I'm fine with a good little Twitter feud. That's fine. But the bank account thing was really weird. And I will say this: did you see the tweet that I think it was something like wrestlers that are better than Seth Rollins? And Daniel Bryan liked this tweet as a list of wrestlers. Like, you had Okada, Naito, Tanahashi, Ibushi. You had Bryan was on it. Omega. They had AJ Styles, Andrade, Cesaro, Walter, Asuka, Pete Dunne, and like all these people are better than Seth Rollins is what this tweet was, and Daniel Bryan liked it. So I don't know if he liked it because he saw his name on it, but I don't think that's what it is at all, because he very rarely likes anything. Like, you can go back to like 5 tweets that he's liked, and it's like in 2018. So he's Seth Rollins is, I don't know. He's really good. He's obviously one of the best in the world. I don't think anyone can actually deny that. I think that because of the comments he's making now, it's easy to take shots at him. Social media presence shouldn't take over a person's in-ring ability. It can help enhance, like we've seen Zack Ryder obviously got super popular because of his social media presence. Becky Lynch, like we said, is bigger on social media than she is in the actual ring. And she's huge in the ring still. But So Seth Rollins shouldn't be able to hurt himself through social media like this, but man, he really seems to be, and at least from like the public sphere.
Yeah, he need. I mean, I don't dislike Seth Rollins, and I agree with some of the things that he said about Ambrose. I thought Ambrose, in many respects, was out of line. Like you didn't like it, fine. You did the right thing. You didn't bitch and moan until it was over. You left. You went on and moved on to another company, which was your prerogative to do. You did that. You fulfilled your contractual obligations with WWE. But then you went and you just said everything. Like you just talked about everything. And you phrased it in a way where many of the stories that were personal to him, he made about everyone. And it was like, well, no, that's not accurate because what was one thing for you might not be the same for others. And you can see that there are people in WWE who maybe agree with the fact that they don't love creative and they don't love their opportunities and blah, blah, blah. Mike and Maria Kanellis, Mojo Rawley, Jinder Mahal just the other day. Like these guys are all re-signing with WWE. Right. So some people don't agree with you. They might not love what's going on, but they like the security. They haven't done what you've done, which is saved every penny you've ever made and believe that going back to being this indie darling guy is what everybody should be doing. And that I didn't agree with Ambrose in that respect, but he's allowed to say what he wants to say. And he's doing extremely well for himself right now. So it's hard to fault him for making the choice that was best for him. But in that respect, Rollins standing up for WWE, I'm all for that. When you get into the, let's compare bank accounts or you make it about you and you say that you are the best wrestler in the world, I like Rollins. I don't even think he's in the top 20.
Sure.
In terms of the best wrestlers on the planet, it's not even in the top 20 for me. So when you make it about you, then it becomes very like self-absorbed and it's easy for people to take pot shots at you. And then when you turn around and you do what you're doing, which is say, oh, let's talk about bank accounts. Little buddy, I'll pat you on the head while you take aim at all these media guys who are promoting everything for you. I'm not standing up for the internet guys like us or podcast hosts or whatever. We need to watch what we say too. But, it's getting ugly and it's getting ugly fast. And it probably isn't very good timing because if ratings stay low and if this relationship thing with Rollins and Lynch takes over the whole idea of Rollins being a universal champ, I mean, it's just not really a good look. So he's going to have to watch it. And WWE's probably going to have to get a hold of this too, because if they start to critique everybody, I mean, it's good. Press is good press, I suppose. But I don't know. I was on board with him. I don't know that I am anymore. And it only took 48 hours.
Yeah. Like you said, I mean, I think Seth Rollins, I don't know where I have him ranked in my top, 20, 30, 40, whatever he is. But he's definitely, I mean, he's one of the best in the world for sure.
He's good.
Whether he's top
good.
50 or top 10, top 20, he's still one of the best in the world. There's a lot of wrestlers out there. So we can't take that away from him. I love the Ring of Honor. I love him in WWE. But yeah, like you said, there are certain ways to go about things, and he's not doing it right.
Yep. Anyway, we'll see where that goes because I have a feeling that it's going to get uglier before it gets better. It's just a matter of whether or not he can wrap his head around the best way to probably talk to people on social media, understanding that everybody will take every tweet you ever write and use it like crazy against you. Moving on, have you noticed on Raw and SmackDown lately the way that the shows have cut to commercials?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. They've been doing
totally weird.
I don't know. It's felt awkward.
Well, I'm okay if they can figure out creative ways of doing this. I tweeted, I don't know what it was, maybe during Raw sometime. I tweeted out, I said, WWE is going to need to make like a Rolodex or a big, huge book of different ways to cut to commercial. Because if they're going to continue to do this, and their format basically is now, Vince McMahon has mandated there will be no wrestling during commercials. So they need to come through and figure out another way to stop the action mid-show so that people on a commercial break don't miss anything. And when they come back, the action is going to start up again. And so far, what we've seen are all these 2 out of 3 falls matches, which is basically you get a pin. Okay, the action will return for a second fall when we come back from commercial, blah, 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 blah. And away they go. That's great. Once, even twice in a week as much. But they did it twice on SmackDown. They had two matches that were 2 out of 3 falls matches. Like, when's the last time that you can remember having 2 out of 3 falls matches at all? Now all of a sudden they've done 3 in a week. It's like, holy crap. You better come up with other ways of doing this because it's going to get really old really fast. So they're going to need to come up with like a massive book or a Rolodex or something. Say, well, let's pull this card out and then we'll go to commercial this way. Well, let's do this. We'll go to, because there are ways to do it. They just better not make everything a 2 out of 3 falls match, because that's going to be terrible. They had the tag match, which then turned into an 8-man tag match. That was how they cut through that one with the Daniel Bryan stuff. They did the same thing on Raw with the Usos and the Revival.
There's
An
no
elimination tag match, right?
Yeah, there's no reason to like make it a double tag team match when they already had like the angle set with just the 2 teams. But anyway, the Usos
Well,
and Revival
every
is
match
really
is
good.
going to become a gimmick match. There's no other way to do it, right? Like if every match becomes an 8-man tag elimination match, well, okay, well, the Revival was just eliminated. So when we come back from a commercial, here's our 2 teams that are like, that's how they're going to work this. It's going to seem really forced and really lame after a while.
Yeah.
And I'm not
weird.
sure that I understand exactly why they're doing it. Like, what happened? Did this whole best wrestling, showing off your product and your performance, like, did that all of a sudden get to somebody? Because I've noticed that the program, Raw and SmackDown and Stomping Grounds, all the matches were a little longer, a little better, a little more, here you go, do your thing. And Raw and SmackDown have been that way too. So did somebody all of a sudden say, oh, geez, we need to like let these guys shine in the ring where they are good. Don't cut to commercial anymore so no one misses how good they are. Like, is that what happened? Or is there something else going on here that Vince just woke up one morning and said, we better not have in-ring action during the commercials anymore?
But like they used to do, like, I mean, really simple, just like a hold or something for like a minute and a half, right, or 2 minutes, or like they'd like be outside the ring and like taunting or something. Like you're able to make it look good and not feel forced. But now like it's very obvious what's happening, and I don't know, I don't like it.
Oh, I was gonna chuckle. Like, have you ever? I have 2 kids. I have one that's 12 and one that's almost 10. And I watch Raw and SmackDown with my son every once in a while. And have you ever been to like a green light when you're sitting at the red light and you know it's about to turn green, and you know because if you're looking at the light that's on your right, you can see that it turns, and then there's like a 2 or 3 second delay before the one in front of you turns green. Yep. This is a trick I always did with my kids when they were little. I would watch their light. It would turn red, and then I would wait 2 seconds. I would snap, and then the light in front of me would turn green. They're like, how did you do that? You're so magic. How did you know? Because they just were too young to realize that that's how the lights worked. I have figured that out with Raw and SmackDown, too, where if you get thrown over the top rope and you're laying on the floor and the announcer starts to say, oh, he's been spoiled after commercial, like it's coming, right? Like that was the format. I was good with that. You know, yeah, maybe you missed a little bit, but they were going to go outside and work the crowd in the arena for a few minutes, and then they would eventually get back in. We weren't going to miss much anyway. So I don't know exactly what happened where all of a sudden they've decided, yeah, don't throw the guy over the top rope anymore, out to the floor and spill out. We'll take a commercial, because you knew that was coming. But now they're just not doing it. And it's really weird. Like it's the strangest way to format all your matches around the commercials. So now every match you create has to be built around the commercial break. Like,
why not just do, like, I don't care if I miss a suplex or a DDT either. Like, just do that if for the people in attendance. I really couldn't care less. Do you care if you miss, you know, Kofi Kingston against Daniel Bryan or something, and Daniel Bryan gives Kofi Kingston like 3 suplexes or something, and Kofi Kingston gives a DDT in the middle of probably the 2 worst people to give an example were suplexes and DDTs. But anyway, you know what I mean. Are you going to care if you miss that? Like, I don't. So just who cares? Give the live crowd something that we don't get to see. And as long as it's not a high spot, who cares?
Well, why not? You're doing WWE.com exclusive videos anyway. Why not have in the middle of a match, if you want to have a heel moment, Daniel Bryan's a perfect example of it. You're in the middle of a tag match. Something goes on outside. He's not happy. He grabs the microphone from the announce table. He comes inside the ring with it. After 2.5 minutes, he starts talking and cutting a promo on his opponents.
Yep.
Cut to commercial, right? If anybody misses that and they're really mad that they missed it because they were watching at home on TV, go to WWE.com and watch the exclusive video after the show is over, because you can see everything that he said. Like, why would you not do that? Like, I just don't understand. Then maybe the WWE will figure this out and be like, oh, man, that's a good idea. We should do that. Like, instead of having a 2 out of 3 falls match, let's just have Daniel Bryan grab a microphone and he can cut a promo on his opponents, and that match will pause for 2.5 minutes while he goes on a tirade, and then they'll get back to the action when the commercial's over. Like, there's no reason to have a 2 out of 3 falls match. Just let him talk. Yeah. I mean, he can fill 2 minutes without a problem. You know, guys like him, guys like The Miz, guys like Kevin Owens, that would be gold for the live audience, and it would attract people to the WWE.com YouTube section because people would want to know what they said. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't do that. Just seems strange to me that everything's got to be an elimination match or 2 out of 3 falls match or this or that. It's odd. Mm-hmm. But anyway, they're doing it. and it'll be interesting to see how long it lasts because all the other changes that they've done, the blacking out the third hour of Raw to the Attitude-ish era to finish the show, all those things are gone already.
Yeah.
Like they brought him in and took him out almost immediately. So I can't imagine this commercial thing is going to last all that long. Yeah, I don't know, man. We got Extreme Rules right around the corner. Anything that you're extremely looking forward to on that pay-per-view? Any matches that you think could steal the show?
I mean,
Of what's been made so far,
Yeah,
the entire card's not lined up, but
Joe versus Kingston, I think, could be really, really good. Ricochet versus Styles, I assume we'll get there, so I'm gonna just give that right now. That is my match of the weekend card, or of the card at least match, because those two are, like Seth Rollins said, Ricochet is one of the best in the world, and in my opinion, for the money, AJ Styles is the best in the world. So there you go. You got the potentially two of the top. I mean, I'll say 20 if you don't want to put Seth Rollins, but Ricochet, let's say 20. Talents of the world, maybe top 10. I don't know that I'd put Ricochet top 10, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
That match should be incredible. And also, even Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans, I really liked that match on at Stomping Grounds. So I'd like to see this final match. I don't know if it's a rubber match because Lacey Evans has lost every other opportunity, but I'd like to see what she can do, and maybe she pulls out the victory this time.
Yep. No, I think it'll be a decent pay-per-view. I'm glad if the Undertaker's going to be on it, he's in a tag match where they can hide some of his in-ring stuff. I think Kofi Kingston versus Samoa Joe has the ability to be a match of the year quality match if they let those two guys run with it. Other than that, I'm excited to see what the card turns into. One of the things I am looking forward to, though, this weekend is AEW's Fighter Fest. That's going to be... It's not stacked up to be the biggest card in the world, but there are some matches on there that I'm extremely excited to see, just to see what happens. Like Jon Moxley versus Joey Janela. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much you know about this Fighter Fest card and if you've been paying much attention to the AEW pay-per-view, but it's going to be really good. And then you've got the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus the Lucha Bros and Laredo Kid. Like that, those matches could be awesome, and that should be really good. And I don't know how much you know about Joey Janela, and for fans that listen to the show and they're not, big indie wrestling guys and that don't know Joey Janela, he's nuts. He's absolutely crazy. And it makes total sense to put Moxley with him in Moxley's first real match back or in AEW because they're both, Moxley wants to be more nuts. Like it was taken away from him in WWE, so he's going to get the ability to be a little more crazy. And Janela's nutty. Like the guy does these insane spots and he lands in the most twisted and awkward ways when you put him through a table. Like I don't know if you saw one of these head scissor DDTs that he did. You know how some guys will do the rollover, land on his head and roll over? No, he took a face plant right into it was crazy. And that's the
Ricochet
kind of
does the same kind of stuff, and I love it.
Oh, it's unbelievably cool. And I think he's going to be. There's a few people on the map in AEW that I think people should watch for. MJF being one, Joey Janela being another. I think Moxley versus Janela could be an unreal match, and the Lucha Bros are fantastic. Like they're just so good. And so when you put them in with the Young Bucks again, but now you've added Kenny Omega to this equation, and Laredo Kid is good too. Those could be really good matches. The rest of the card, be all right. But those two matches should be good, and that's this Saturday.
Yeah, I'm so excited for it. We didn't talk about it at all, but like I'm really excited for it. We're definitely gonna. I'd imagine next week's show is gonna be very heavily, AEW Fighter Fest related.
Yes. Yeah, probably because we'll have watched the show. It's free on Bleacher Report, Bleacher Report Live. So if you want to watch an AEW pay-per-view and you haven't yet, and you were kind of like, I don't want to spend $60 to do this. Well, now you don't have an excuse because if you subscribe to Bleacher Report Live, here's me doing a plug, even though I have no.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I know it sounds like I'm doing a commercial for Bleacher Report Live.
I was thinking it before you even got into this. I was like, we should get sponsored by Bleacher Report Live.
No kidding. I don't think we have quite the audience yet, but
says you. I love our audience. We love you guys.
That's right. No, but it'll be good. You can watch it for free. Like I'm finding out that some people in the UK and stuff can't, but I mean they're only paying $12 for the thing anyway. But this is your chance to watch an AEW pay-per-view and make an informed, educated opinion on what you're watching, right? And so it should be good. And for that reason, I think AEW is going to really go, no pun intended, all out to make sure that this is a good show, right? Because they might have potentially one of their largest audiences from people who if they're hooked on it, will buy All Out when the pay-per-view comes in August.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so it'll be good. I mean, I don't know what else to really chat about. I mean, we've covered Raw and SmackDown a little bit. I guess we could touch on the fact that it sounds like officially Brock Lesnar's re-signed with WWE. I don't have the details on what that contract looked like, but it sounds like he signed a new deal. We knew that he was, leaving UFC. Dana White had gone on 2 different videos and said, yeah, he's done here. He's not coming back. And he had hinted at the idea that Lesnar was working on something with WWE. And the last report that we had heard was Lesnar's making somewhere in the neighborhood of $6 to $6.5 million to wrestle as infrequently as he was for WWE. So who knows what this new contract looks like and how many dates are on it. But he's got the Money in the Bank briefcase, and he should be showing up a little more often than he has been. So maybe this new contract has got a few more dates on it. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I feel like every year Brock Lesnar signs a multi-year contract, and obviously that doesn't make sense, but here we are.
Yeah, no, he's got, I think he came out and actually said, I do year-to-year deals because I want to leave it open. Like he did an interview. Yeah, he did an interview saying, look, I want to reevaluate my situation at the end of every year. If I want to go to UFC, I want the right to be able to do that. If I want to stay with WWE, I want to re-sign with them. So he's left it open, which is the right thing to do. I mean, it's like any sport, right? If you're a free agent and you know that you're not going to be staying here for 5 years, don't sign a 5-year deal, right? Unless you have an opt-out option, right? So you don't do that. He signed 1-year deals at a time. He's making big bucks to be where he is. He's used the leverage, but now if the leverage isn't there, maybe he's going to sign, 2 or 3 years. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, I mean, that's the story. I guess the other thing that I'm a little whatevered by, and it appears to not be going down anywhere, is this whole Shane McMahon stuff. That seems to be a hot topic for people. He's all over the TV. He's like the big star of WWE right now, and people hate it.
I don't understand why. I mean, he's fine. I think he's great to have a high spot match, every now and again. Why is he the main player on your show, on both shows, for that matter? Why? It doesn't make any sense. He's the main wrestler, but also like the main authority figure. They kind of got rid of the McMahons are gonna as a team run this company now, and now it's just Shane McMahon. It's literally only Shane McMahon. We don't hear about anyone else making any of the matches. There's no authority figures. There's nothing. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and he's okay talent. I like him so much better when he's used sparingly and he does crazy stuff. That was the Shane McMahon that I was always looking forward to seeing because you never knew what he's going to pull off next. Now he's just sort of annoying.
Yeah, less is more, and he's a high spot guy. There's nothing wrong with being a high spot guy, but he's not. I'm not saying he puts on bad matches, but he's not a wrestler. He can have he has a few moves here and there, but the guy's there to make you say, "Oh my God, what is he doing?" He's not there to be on your show, on your TV every single week in an in-ring capacity.
Well, you know what? That's the one drawback that I have found so far from Raw and SmackDown of this week and even last week. Other than that, I thought the shows were good, and that's how we started the show, so maybe that's how we should end it, because very often we are talking about how poorly we are receiving WWE programming, and we are actually both on the same page that it has been better the last 2 weeks. So it's probably not a bad idea to leave on a high note with WWE and say, hey, guys, you must be doing something right because people are starting to enjoy the show again. And keep it up, right? Like whatever it is that you've decided to do backstage, whatever changes you're making, you're not perfect yet. There are a lot of things that you could be doing better, and no one's going to be happy all the time. But the matches have been better. The shows have been better. The pay-per-views have been better constructed, betterly's not a word.
It's not.
Yeah, I should create my own language. That should be what we do. We just write down words we make up during the show, and then we can start our own little dictionary of words.
Chris Jericho has that for wrestling terms, like red reels and stuff like that. It's a bunch of cool stuff that he had he just picked up over the years that are just very things you don't know in regular conversations, specific to the wrestling world, and that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be. I'm glad that the show is getting better. I'm looking forward to watching it. I know Extreme Rules is coming up real quick, just like Stomping Grounds did. It just sort of snuck up on us, and it's right around the corner already. I think it's 2 weeks away. So they're gonna have to throw that card together pretty quick. So hopefully it's not just a bunch of rematches, and hopefully they do it justice, and that it is a good pay-per-view. But so far so good. So we'll see where we go. You want to leave us with any parting thoughts, any words, any whatevers that you're taking out of this week?
WWE looked good. AEW's card looks good. So as a wrestling fan, I can't complain.
Yep. And we'll see. We'll keep our eyes on the debate. Who is the best wrestler on the planet? When you listen to this podcast, maybe make a note, rate, download, subscribe to it, comment. Who do you think the best wrestler on the planet is? Right now, both of us are in agreement that it isn't Seth Rollins. You like him a little bit more than I do. I don't know that it's necessarily Will Ospreay, but he's up there. But there are a lot of really good wrestlers out there, and the debate will continue on social media. So who's your favorite? You know, if you listen to the show on social media, or you're going on iTunes, or you're whatever, you're at the show, maybe chime in. Let us know.
Is it a WWE guy? Like, is it AJ Styles? Is it Cesaro, Andrade, Daniel Bryan even?
Dude, Cesaro. I didn't even think about Cesaro. He definitely should get some consideration.
Is it someone on the... Oh, go ahead.
No, nothing. I was just going to say he's so underrated.
He is so underrated. Is it someone not in WWE? Is it, Okada, Omega? Is it Zack Sabre Jr., Will Ospreay, Naito, Tanahashi? There's some really, really great wrestlers right now. Is it Seth Rollins? And maybe you think Seth Rollins is the best in the world.
Some people do.
I don't think you should be faulted for that. If he's your favorite and you think he's the best, that's fine. Objectively, nobody is the best. So it's a discussion that you can't actually answer. But at the same time, it's fun. It's a fun little, as long as you're not getting mad at someone for their opinion with it, it's fun. Like, sound off in the comments, sound off on Twitter. Like, let us know. We'd love to hear about it because, like I said, AJ Styles and Kenny Omega right now, and it has been for a while for me, are number 1 and number 2, no order. And I think Okada has to be in there as number 3. So I'm not going to give an order of who's the best there, but those 3 for me, definitely the best in the world. And I think this is a new development for me because I've always known he was great. But I think Zack Sabre Jr. might be up there in my top 5. He's so good.
Yeah, I think we're producing the makings of an article right now.
Yeah,
a list of our. It's going to be a long one, but we'll have to work on it together. And anybody who's listening wants to send their input, shoot us an email. contact@wrestlingwriteups.com and let us know who's your favorite and tell us why. Maybe we'll work it into the article. But if we put a list together of our top 20 or what have you. Best wrestlers on the planet list. That'd be kind of fun. That's a big project. All right, man. Well, I'll let you go. You enjoy your 2 weeks. I'll talk to you before then because you got 2 more weeks before you got to get down to the nitty gritty of office life. But
it's still sports related, so that's fun at least.
Yeah, I know. When you're doing something that you like, it's not really a job, is it?
No.
Cool, man. All right, I will talk to you next week, and then we said it before, and we're going to continue to say it until things change a little bit. We do have information coming, a surprise that we did a couple weeks ago that we are just waiting on being able to reveal for people. So we won't leave you hanging too much if we can help it, but that is coming right away. So for another edition of the Smart Marks of Wrestling podcast presented by thesportster.com, for Brandon and myself, Jim, we will talk to you next week. Thanks, guys.